Hey, everybody. What's up? Okay, listen, I know. Give me a second. I was trying to get like a cute little graphic together, child. Um, because I was first trying to find it online, and then I realized I couldn't find it online. And so I had to download the one from my iPad, which I thought was charged, but it is not. So I'll be reading this from my iPhone instead. I will not be on camera for this series, you guys. It's like I don't know. I don't want. Please don't make me. Sometimes you just want to do things where people have to hear you, but they don't necessarily have to see you. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into this as soon as I get this little picture up here, man. I thought there were people in here, and then I come back and it's like there are not that many people in here. I was like, oh, okay. But hey, it's a playback type of situation, so it doesn't even matter. But I thought it would be dope if we did it live, and I wanted to make it members only because I feel like I have to give you guys some members only content besides Love and Marriage Huntsville. So this seemed like a dope way to do that and give y'all like my podcast form of you know, doing things and not just always in the video manner that I do that. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so there we go. There we go. It'll be cuter next time. Next time. It'll be much cuter. I'm at work, but I'm here. Okay, I hope that means you'll be doing Portia's voice. Actually, I had commented at the top and said that I would attempt to do her voice for some of the book, but I am not going to read an entire book in Portia's voice. I mean, do you want me to be able to do other videos? Like y'all know this whole, throat thing, this voice thing, this is it's not, you don't just do what you want it to do all the time, especially when you talk as much as I do. So we'll see. We'll see if I could really get the Porsche of it all together, okay? But it is definitely going to be the pursuit of Porsche. How I grew into my power and my purpose. Okay? Okay. For Patreon, I think that's the emails are the notifications. I think that's how that works. But you got here. Listen, you got here. That's why I had to be a little late. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Cause I feel like my voice is way more pleasurable than Portia's. You know what I'm saying? But are y'all ready? Because I only have like 30 minutes because I have a lash appointment and then I have to get to the gym. So let's go ahead and get into this first part of my read along of The Pursuit of Porsha. A note from the author. To protect the privacy of my loved ones and other people whom I've met and would rather forget, some names have been changed, others have been erased. Okay, listen, she's so dramatic, girl. Y'all think who y'all think the ghostwriter is? I don't know. Introduction. If you thought you knew my life after watching me on reality TV, get in and buckle your seatbelt because it's about to get really real. After starring season after season on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, I felt there was still so much I never got a chance to say in those confessionals or never got a chance to express at the reunions between throwing shade and receipts. So I've opened up my life here, page by page, to share my truth, my strength, and my pursuit of the real Portia. Some of what I'm about to share will be tough to hear. It was even tougher to write. We know because we don't think you really wrote it. But I'm just playing. Moving on. It was even tougher to write. That's why it took me years to do it. Although I knew God wanted me to bring voice to my story and my testimony, I avoided writing a book for a long time because any good book is your truth on paper. It's laying yourself bare and having to face yourself, your failures, and even your fears. By the way, I've been blessed. I believe it is my duty to tell these stories as a testimony for other young girls and women. I went from being homeless while starring on The Real Housewives to owning two successful businesses. Not to mention, I'm co hosting the nationally syndicated talk show Dish Nation and Bravo's new late night talk show Chat Room, while also making headway into scripted television. If there is one person I can touch with my story or save from making the same mistakes I did, then it was all worth it. Honestly, it was all worth it anyway, because it made me the woman, the mother, the daughter, and the friend that I am today. Every sparkling diamond has been put under pressure. I am no exception. Some of that pressure you've seen on television, but other moments you have no idea about. Ooh, we have no idea about. It was the next page, child. Until now. Until now. Sometimes when you watch someone on TV, you think you know her, but the woman you've seen on the show is only a small piece of me, a character at times. Okay, tell the truth about it, y'all. Tell the truth. Even this book is a small piece of my blessing filled life. But I hope that after laughing and crying with me, you understand the fullness of Porsha and how I became the proud Black woman I am today. Child, it's a little grandstandy, but I'm a press. I faced depression, heartache, and pain, and I've used joy, happiness, and my unwavering faith to get me through. Oh, yes, that reminds me of all those preaching moments. Oh, yes, the homophobia. Thank you for loving and supporting me on this journey called life. You ready? She ready. Let me get a sip of my coffee first. But she is ready. Are y'all ready? Are y'all ready? Screaming. I'm reading a little bit of y'all comments. She don't have them jobs no more since she started dating that lady. Listen, that's the same thing that was going on in my mind. I was like, child, you don't work there no more. But let's go ahead and get into chapter 1, you guys. Okay, hold up. Let me move. All right. Chapter 1. Hi, welcome to Porsha's world, I said cheerily while staring into a black camcorder. At 12 years old, I already knew there was something to discover through that lens that didn't seem attainable in the confines of my childhood bedroom. My reality felt extraordinary through that lens. During pre production for my faux home shopping network show, I had walked around my mother's house on Cameron Close, about 30 minutes outside of Decatur, Georgia, carefully examining and hand selecting the items I deemed worthy to be sold later to by millions of fictional viewers. While I sat in my chair for my first ever series, my mother's beautiful items perched on different shelves shone behind me while my dolls and stuffed animals served as my studio audience. We have this beautiful candle, I said, picking up my mama's smell goods while wearing the shoulder padded jacket I'd swiped from her closet earlier. We only have 100 left. Oh my God, hurry up and buy them. At the time, I was living with my mom, whom everyone else called Miss Diane, during the week and visiting my dad, Hosea, on the weekends. My parents had split by the time I was 2 or 3 years old. In my room, though, with its bay windows and vaulted ceilings, I felt like I had created my own safe haven. It felt like the only space where I could dream a little bit bigger than those white walls. It felt like the only place where I felt comfortable to ask for more of myself and see more for myself, rather than the flat chested, skinny, big eyed, thick, hateful words I had heard the other kids call me at school that somehow I believed to be true. I wanted to be more than the other girls. Other kids called ugly. Sorry, y'all. She threw me off with that line. I wanted to be more than the girl. I'm sorry. I wanted, let me try it again, child. Who wrote it? I wanted to be more than the other kids. I wanted to be more than the girl other kids call ugly. Child, listen, y'all gonna walk through. That's why I'm not on Audible yet, because they would have edited this out for me. The one they called lame. They called you lame, Porsha, child. We still calling you a little lame, girl. We still calling you a little lame, but ain't nobody calling you flat chested for sure. Okay. At that time, I could have never imagined some 2 decades later, millions would be watching me through similar black lenses, falling in love with me through my triumphs, my heartbreaks, my mistakes, and my overcome. Oh, my overcome, not my triumph, my overcome. Okay. Back then, my 12-year-old self found no relief at Chapel Hill Middle School in Decatur. I don't remember much about middle school, and it's probably because I didn't care much about it. I didn't really excel there because I didn't really pay attention. I just wanted to get through the day so I could run back to my room and be myself. I used to sit there in my classroom staring out the windows, waiting to go home and return to my safe haven. While other kids hung out with one another, played sports, or tore up the playground, I spent a lot of time in my room. I'd even tie a scarf around the doorknob just to be sure no one would unexpectedly come in and ruin my introverted fun. It would be full blown bliss. Once I turned on that Jodeci from my pile of CDs, slow love songs would fill up any emptiness in my room. Oh, you couldn't tell me nothing. I wasn't in love with anyone then, but baby, did I sing a good sad love song to pass the time. Child, if you had recorded yourself and listened to yourself back, you know you didn't sound that good. But you know what? I'm going to just go ahead and keep on reading. When I wasn't chilling in my bedroom, I was running around with my older brother, Hosea, who was named after my dad and his dad. Believe it or not, I was a tomboy who wanted to run around the neighborhood until the street lights came on instead of playing inside with dolls. Hosea was only 2 years older than me, but instead of that natural sibling rivalry, I was obsessed with my big brother. Our entire family was. At my mama's house, Hosea, her most cherished son, and at my father's house, he seemed to rule over everything. There was something about Hosea. He had this ability to be exactly who he was every second of the day. I was not only enamored with him, but also inspired by him. When I wasn't loving on him, I was pranking him. We were always trading pranks on each other throughout our childhood because we were so close in age. He was always messing with me, and I was always messing with him. And what was so frustrating was that everyone thought I was picking on him, but it was the other way around. Between pranks and getting in trouble for those pranks, we would explore our neighborhood in Ellenwood, Georgia, so much that we often heard as we zoomed by, there go those Williams kids. Still, no one knew my secret pain. No one has ever known of the deep sadness that seems to linger in the air around me because on the outside, I act completely opposite to how I'm feeling, by choice or for survival. Well, child, that lets us know why, it seems she's so disingenuous, aka fake. Ooh, that made me a little sad though, right? Like, what is that about? At times, even I can't tell. People think my life is so popping that I always have people to talk to and always have friends to turn to. Girl, no, we don't. No, we don't. Nobody thinks that. But that's not ever been my case ever. Even though I considered her my best friend, I couldn't tell my mom all the thoughts running through my head. I couldn't tell my mom that I had held a bottle of pills, thinking about swallowing all of them, but deciding against it because I feared I'd be brain dead. And I definitely didn't want to be that. I couldn't tell her that I had tied a purple, red, and black scarf around my neck to see what it felt like to not live anymore, or that I had gone a step forward and had tied that same colorful scarf to the door. I'm not sure what she'd think if I ever told her my body dropped to the ground in surrender or relief. I'm still not sure. Like, what? So did you do it? It seemed like she tried to kill herself but then stopped herself. What I was sure of, however, was just how hard my mom worked to ensure I had a certain lifestyle. She was my best friend. She is my best friend. She was a boss, having owned a daycare and learning centers in Atlanta, Georgia, educating hundreds of children. Because I knew she was doing all she could to provide for me and my brother, I wasn't going to tell her about the bullying in school. And I definitely wasn't going to tell her about what I did in my room when no one was looking. The idea of disappointing my mom with this never ending sadness felt like it could end my entire world. She was so busy. She didn't have time for this foolishness. Child, I tell you, them black moms will tell you to snap out of it. Bitch, if it was that easy, I would. I would. But it's not that easy. You know what I'm saying? But that's what my mom and child and my mom a Capricorn child, and they really don't have time for all these emotions and shit. Okay. But anyway, I understand that. Okay. My whole existence felt like a disappointment, and I didn't want to let her down one more time with a pathetic problem I couldn't explain. My unwavering depression made me feel so guilty because I saw just how much my mom was sacrificing to give me every single thing I wanted out of life. Even in middle school, I knew that suicide would be so selfish. I couldn't dare leave my mom when I loved her so much. I wouldn't want her to deal with that. Thankfully, somehow mothers know, especially Black mothers. They seem to have a sixth sense about what their children are going through. I understand that more and more with the birth of my own daughter, Pilar. My mother, who was quick to discipline me but loved me beyond words, felt and knew what I didn't say, what I couldn't say while I struggled during middle school. She offered me a lifeline. You and your brother are going to go talk to a friend of mine, and I want you to just kind of tell them how you feel, my mom said casually one day while she was picking me up from school. How I feel about what? Well, I can tell you more when we get there, she hinted. Hosea is going too, but I think it's important for you two to have someone to talk to, another friend. But even this professionally trained stranger perched in an office building that sat around the corner from a movie theater we always used to go to couldn't heal my broken heart. I visited this therapist twice before I decided that, if anything, the entire exercise of sitting down and trying to explain what I was going through was stupid and a waste of time. If I couldn't understand what I was going through, how could I conceptualize it for someone else to analyze? I just didn't want to be asked all those piercing questions. I didn't have the answers. I couldn't pinpoint what issue could have been. I'm sorry. What issue could have been that bad for a 12-year-old? I mean, I hadn't even hit puberty yet. I hadn't gotten my period. Not only was I just coming into my womanhood, I was just coming into myself. I did know though that even at my age, I was really good at pretending like I had, I'm sorry, somebody in the Discord said something that distracted me. Y'all, my eyes is bad. Y'all know I love y'all. Anyway, I did know though that even at my age, I was really good at pretending like I had it all together. It was the first time in my life that I had picked up that mask to hide how I truly felt. So I never showed my emotions that, I'm sorry, I never showed any emotion that might have seemed weak to my mom. I never ever wanted her to think that I was sad. I never even wanted to cry in front of her because I wanted to protect her. I never wanted her to feel that she was the cause of it, that being a single mom made me somehow upset with life or upset with her. So I masked my sadness and my anger and my disappointments. Despite my frustrations, I held everything in. I didn't realize that what I was feeling actually had a name, and that I wasn't the only person suffering with depression. I wasn't even the only one suffering with depression in my family. It wasn't until my divorce decades later that I was willing to confront it. And when I did, I realized that I wasn't alone. Just 2 weeks after my ex-husband, former NFL player Cordell Stewart, completely blindsided me by filing for divorce after only 2 years of marriage — don't worry, there's more on that later — I had to put on a brave face and fly to New York. Bravo, the network that airs Real Housewives of Atlanta, where I had just finished my first season, was holding its annual upfronts. For those who don't know, television networks have what's called upfronts. They're these big, elaborate celebrity filled parties held every year where the networks present their latest slate of programming or shows to lure advertisers into investing. Bravo had invited me, the housewife who had no house and was no longer a wife, to represent their highest rated Housewives franchise at the time. I didn't even think producers would want me back on the show as a newly single woman. So, on one hand, I was relieved when I got the call that I'd be joining my castmates Nene Leakes and Cynthia Bailey in New York to walk the party's bright blue carpet. But on the other hand, it'd be the first time I'd be seen in public after the world learned I was getting divorced. I had invested so much into my marriage, having given up my own business as well as my friends and family, to be the perfect wife and stepmother. Now, just days after that life was stripped away from me, I had to talk to perfect strangers, sorry, and the press, who would seize the opportunity to get a soundbite for their stories, not realizing that their questions were piercing daggers into my very broken heart. It was a lot. It became so hard to give it became so hard to give evasive answers to journalists on blue carpet, while trying to hold back tears, that eventually the tears won and my willpower. Okay, child, when did you cry? When did she cry on the red carpet? Does anybody remember? Yeah, I don't ever remember her talking about a brother either. I feel very lost, which makes me feel like I wonder if the brother passed away or something like that. Yeah, I'm a little confused, y'all. I'm sorry. Let's get back into this. Hold up. Let me get some more coffee and clear my throat. Mm. She says, I ran to the bathroom inside the venue to let them fall freely. My younger sister, Lauren, there rubbing my back. It wasn't until I had suffered through the party that I'm sorry, y'all. I can't do it. I can't do a whole nother paragraph, y'all. It wasn't until I had suffered through the party and took off my strapless Kelly green dress to hop on a Delta flight back home to Atlanta that everything hit me at once. What are you going to do? Lauren asked me from her, like, Lauren voice don't sound like that. What are you going to do? Lauren asked me from her aisle seat in first class. Oh, you had to let us know you was in first class? That was necessary? Never mind. Oh, he's alive and well, y'all. Okay. That's good to hear. Because I was like, what the hell? When the hell? Whatever. Anyway, child, that man said, don't say nothing about me on that show. He was on the episode where she moved into her house. Child, I feel like I did not see it. But you know what? Let's hop back into it. Lauren asked her what she was going to do in first class. We were sipping on mimosas that the flight attendant had just placed between us made while we made little families out of stretched out starbursts. Girl, what? I don't know, I said, staring out the tiny rounded plane window. I have no idea. I'm just so sad. Am I supposed to feel this sad? Lauren didn't understand the question, so I elaborated. I just wish I could fix it. I said when she asked what I meant by that. I thought I had it figured. I'm sorry. I thought I had it figured out. I had a husband, a stepson, and I thought I was going to have more kids. When you get married, I continued, you're off the streets. You think this is it, but it wasn't. Clearly, I just can't believe this is happening. I set up my life to be Cordell's wife, to be a mom. I didn't set up my life to do anything after because there was no after. That was it. The odd thing about it was I wasn't even angry anymore. I wasn't even upset. I was beyond that. I was hopeless. They say I'm hopeless. Mm. Mm-hmm. As a penny with a hole in it, penny with a hole in it, yeah. They say I'm no less, no less, no less, no less, no less. I'm sorry, I had to do it. Up to my head and okay. Porsha, I know this seems like this is the worst thing that's ever happened to you in your life, but you'll get through this, Lauren said, breaking my train of thought. How do you know that? I said defiantly, not ready to receive advice. Because I've been there where you're crying all day long, not understanding what's wrong with you, Lauren revealed for the first time to me. I looked over at Lauren with new eyes while my little sister told me that while she was attending Spelman College, the all girls historically black institution in Atlanta, she had found a therapist to help her cope with what she had been feeling. I had been struggling with anxiety and I didn't have a name for it, Lauren admitted. So I just felt stupid for feeling it. That's how I feel. And I feel crazy for feeling this way. It's okay. You'll come out of it. You've been this way before. And what happened? You came out of it. You're epic, Lauren reminded me. You're brave. You can get through anything. My baby sister's words felt good hanging in the plane's thin air, but they failed to land. As much as I wanted to believe Lauren, it'd be weeks before I convinced myself that what I had put up with wasn't okay. It'd be months before I realized that I didn't have to endure emotional and physical abuse to have a family, that I didn't have to choose between success and love, that there was space in the world for both. But thankfully, For the first time, I knew I wasn't alone in my mess. At least I knew that I wasn't the only one feeling helpless and confused and sad at times. As I pushed around the sweet, mushy families that lay on the plane's tray, because my sister and I, Lauren, would say something that would snap all my life's relationships into focus. You know, she said hesitantly, a painful moment that she didn't want to spill out, obviously rolling around in her head. My therapist said it all goes back to dad. Well, shit. Chapter 2, you guys. Do I have a little bit more? Let me see. Let's get into a little bit of chapter 2 and I'll bookmark and stop on a good spot, okay? Because I'm gonna have to skedaddle in a few, but I feel like I have at least 10 more minutes. So chapter 2. I remember seeing Jesse Jackson kiss my sister's forehead, but Lauren didn't seem comforted. Instead, she looked super annoyed. She was only 10 years old at the time, but I could tell she didn't want to stand up and shake hands any longer. She felt like I did. She wanted to get out of the church and mourn her father in peace, whatever mourning looked like at that age. I was 16 when my father died, a rare blood disease called para, paroxysmal, I can't pronounce it, paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobin, child, PNH. We ain't about to do this, okay? PNH, okay? Do you hear me? I don't have time. To make a very complicated disease sound really simple, it's when the red blood cells don't act right. My dad was only 43 when he succumbed to the disease after an unsuccessful bone marrow transplant, but he had clearly already made a huge impact in the world. Just 4 days after his spirit left this world and my father officially became an ancestor, anybody who was connected to anybody who was connected to him seemed to gather inside Israel Baptist Church, which is located on a road in East Atlanta that's now called Hosea L. Williams Drive, named after his own father. Jesse, Dick Gregory, Mayor Bill Campbell, and every other important person in Atlanta, it seemed, was inside the brick church. Although it was September, it was a rather cold day for Atlanta, and before the service, I couldn't make myself move fast enough. Grief was weighing me down bad, making my feet feel as if they were in quicksand. But instead of being worried that I'd be late to my own father's funeral, I felt nothing, absolutely nothing. I had disconnected from the moment, surely to protect my heart, but I still managed to put on a silk black dress with a matching scarf that I kept tied around my neck that day to say my final goodbye to my father. While the rest of my family, my father's 6 brothers and sisters, along with their children, had gathered at my grandmother Juanita's house ride, to ride in 8 or so black limousines to take them to see my father for one last time, I strolled into the church late. I walked past the throngs of people standing, sitting, and trying to cram comfortably into the sanctuary right to the front and sat down next to my mother. And although I saw so many faces I recognized from school, from my mother's daycare, my dad's friends, and my grandfather's inner circle, there were many other faces I couldn't place. All I could remember was his casket, his final resting place. It was still open and top. It was still open and atop the shiny box that will hold his life for all eternity with so many red roses. Y'all, I'm saying it's not me. It's not me. It was still open and atop the shiny box that will hold his life for all eternity with so many red roses. It's the way some of these sentences are, y'all. Leave me alone. I just remember those red roses and how they cascaded down, filling up the church with a floral scent I just couldn't register. Hey, can y'all close that now? It was Lauren's mother, Lisa, asking one of the church's trustees to finally close my dad's casket after it had been open for more than half the service. Even though I spent much of the funeral staring at the back of her head, I could tell Lauren was visibly upset about it. She even fell asleep for a little bit, probably not wanting to see her father that way anymore. At my father's funeral, so many people wanted to memorialize him, including Dick Gregory, who thankfully made us all laugh by sharing anecdotes from my dad's life and remembering him for the hilarious, charismatic person he was. My dad liked to say he was this average height of a black man, which really meant he stood at 5'9". My dad was like me in many ways. He was attractive, flashy, the type of guy who walked in a room and made you wonder, who is that? Our family was really bad. Our family has really bad vision. Child sound like me with this bad ass vision. So he always had on a pair of glasses, the kind that turned dark in the sun. It always looked like he had on shades, but he pulled it off. Dick spoke about dad's great personality, the fact that he never walked through a room of strangers. He seemed to know all of Atlanta and all of Atlanta knew him. I suppose he couldn't help it being raised by his father, the elder Hosea, who was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s chief field lieutenant. My grandfather worked alongside Dr. King in their organization, the Southern Church Leadership Conference, and later founded his own long-standing outreach, Hosea Feed the Hungry and Homeless. His wife, my grandmother Juanita, was equally impressive, graduating third in her class from Savannah State College, eventually becoming a Georgia legislator, and one of the first Black women to run for public office in the state. When it came to his family, my dad was really warm, but when it came to his business, he was demanding and at times cold hearted. In fact, he loved to press buttons. He was the type where he could yell, fuck you, and hang up the phone, and people would still say, Hosea, you crazy, but we love you for it. Dad was a boss. He was a successful entrepreneur who owned a janitorial chemical supply company that sold cleaning supplies to major retailers like Home Depot. He got the idea from his father, who was a chemist. Before my grandfather became an iconic civil rights leader, he had earned his bachelor and master's degrees in chemistry from Morris Brown College and what's now known as Clark Atlanta University. He was well respected for being fair and a truth teller, and if he didn't tell you the truth, there was a good reason for it. He was very much a tell you like it is type of person, and I admire that about him because he seems to have a way with words and could make even bad situations feel good. That was my dad. The funeral seemed to drag on, but it ended with us having to shake everyone's hand at the end of the service. We stood there exhausted from the memories, laughter, and tears, shaking each person's hand one by one as we tried to figure out what words to say in response to their sorry for your losses and condolences. My replies never seemed to measure up to how I was feeling, as if I even knew what I was feeling. Looking back at the winding line of mourners inside the church, it felt like I would have to endure this uncomfortable back and forth for another 20 damn minutes. I looked over at Lauren to see Aunt Jetty trying to pick her up, but her body looked like a little limp doll in defiance. Clearly, she wasn't cooperating. Instead, she dragged her body weight to the floor. I don't remember running over to her, but I must have. Let's just get out of here, I told her, picking her 10-year-old body up with ease. I don't know how you knew you had to save me, Lauren whispered. We found an empty limo waiting for us outside the golden steepled church and climbed inside. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I never could have cried inside that church. I'm the type to never show that I'm upset, even if I am. And I try very hard to hide my hurt in front of the congregation. But inside the limo, watching the tears fall down Lauren's face, I couldn't help myself. I started crying, silent and stiff. Child, that make me feel like almost every time you was crying on camera, you was full of shit. I'm just saying. Lauren was crying too. But as her big sister, I felt like I needed to say something to fix this, to make us feel better, even if I didn't believe the words coming out of my mouth just yet. It's going to be okay. He's in a better place, I mustered, which only made Lauren cry harder. It was an oddly familiar moment because I was actually with Lauren inside Duke University Hospital the night my father passed away. September 21st, 1998. It was more than a month after he had gotten a bone marrow transplant from his brother, and he was recuperating until he wasn't. He had developed graft versus host disease after his body rejected his brother's bone marrow. It was that time of day when the nighttime blended into the morning, the time of day when usually the world is asleep and the only people who are up have a problem to solve. My grandmother and aunts were holding one another's hands, surrounding my dad's bed in prayer. He was no longer conscious, but their faith persisted. In that familial amen corner, they spoke life into my dad, shared his hopes and dreams for this life, not realizing God already had a bigger plan for him. This was lost on Lauren, who only knew it was bedtime. She couldn't stand up in that sterile room any longer, with the machines forcing life into my dad, or at least trying to. I want to lay down, she whined. It was around 4 a.m. and honestly, I wanted to lie down too. So I took her out of Dad's hospital room in search of a nurse that could help. We found someone who opened a tiny room that was attached to Dad's room. There wasn't even enough space for us to lie down next to each other, so I ended up sleeping on the floor while Lauren lay slightly on top of me. We were asleep when dawn turned to morning. We were asleep when Dad transmitted to the next life, but we were together. We heard the beeping, the machines keeping my dad alive stop. We heard the nurses turn them all off one by one. By the time we walked back into my dad's room, the sterile space that was once filled with beeps and tones was now completely silent. Dad's body was still warm, but it was perfectly still for the first time. Although I was only a teenager, my family thankfully let me see Dad's final transition with my own eyes. It didn't help me believe it any quicker. I still couldn't believe it was happening. He's still alive. He's still alive, I offered to my aunts in the room, who stood watch beside him as he made his way as he made his way over. No, Porsha, he's not, one of my aunties corrected. He can't be. He can't be. It's not real. It's not real. Y'all, I'm going to stop right there. Okay. We're going to bookmark it. Okay. But we're going to stop right there because, like I told you, I got to go get my lashes done, child. But yes, oh my God, that part really made me feel away because, I mean, shit, I really was imagining the way it was when I was in the hospital room with my father when he was passing away. And, you know, of course, it wasn't exactly like that. Mine was in the afternoon and it was quick. But that process had went on for days with him in the hospital. So I understand it. And, you know, everybody being around the bed and my, you know, mom tucking and putting covers, you know, just moving and fixing stuff and just, you know, being distraught. So I definitely, you know, understood it. But yeah, y'all, let me see a little bit of what y'all are saying. I take everything I said back. I might buy it just for the Cordell portion. I need to know what happened, typos and it's not a lot of typos, it's just a lot of run-on sentences. And a lot of the times if you don't read something ahead of time, which I did not, you know, did they not go through the book and fix mistake? It's just a lot of run-on sentences. That's all. Oh, so her father was a habitual button pusher. I can't stand them type of people. She lying in this book because she's not that good of an actor. Huh? That had to be rough. Pull up Porsha and Lauren. This is a sad part, but we, you know, it's going to get worse, and I'm going to continue to give commentary as I read. So I hope y'all enjoyed this first part, and I might come back once I am done at the gym. I might, you know, do another portion later because I don't think I'm going to be reading. I don't think I'm going to be recording anything today. So yeah. Hope y'all enjoyed it. And, you know, I'll talk to y'all a little later. Yeah, it's a lot for, that's what I'm saying. This portion, I think, is the real portion. Because I feel like, you know, when we move on, it's going to get fake. It's going to get fugazi. But I want to get into the details of her and her father's relationship. But yeah, I'm glad y'all enjoyed it. And I'll be back later and hopefully it'll flow. All right. Y'all have a good rest of y'all day.